To work in your own city is always a challenge. Because you know the building will be next door when finished. People will see it. If it's good, it can be a calling card for the office. If it's bad, it's something you wouldn't have to intentionally ignore. But the main challenge was to make a building in Rotterdam about Rotterdam. And as you may know, Rotterdam is a city of which the center was bombed in the Second World War. It was a huge crater. Then it was rebuilt, first with modernism, then with postmodernism, then with humanism, then with a kind of wave of high-rises, one of which I think is even going to block the view of the residents here. So if you conform to Rotterdam, what do you actually conform to? Because every 5 years there's a different Rotterdam, and what is interesting is that this building, the existing building, was the building from which the reconstruction of Rotterdam was drawn. The municipal architects were in this building, drawing very neatly the modernist plan of the office, which then got changed over time. So we wanted to make a building that did justice to all of those periods at once, and therefore didn't add a new form, but rather was kind of formless. A crumbly skyline that would not be the highest building, would not be the most formalist building, but that in a way was a testament to the permanent improvisation that is building in Rotterdam. I think we normally start with a very small number of people. I think there's generally teams of 4, sometimes 5 people, and they just generate a lot of ideas. And so, because inside a quite small group, it's also easy to have a good discussion about which variant is good, which variant is good, and why, etc., etc., etc. I think the raw structure was there in 18 months, which is very, very soon. Also because it is a modular construction. It's perhaps interesting to say that when we started this building, the city of Rotterdam had a number of near misses with big projects. So here the responsibility was delegated to the contractor. The contractor was also our client, and also the property developer who sold the apartments, Heijmans. And we knew that from the beginning, even in the competition, so we thought we will design a building that a contractor will like. It was very ironic that you gain a lot of points on the sustainability score if you make a building that is easy to demolish with little waste. So something is very sustainable when it cannot be sustained and can be taken away. So the whole building was designed like a steel structure that was more a kind of montage of different elements rather than hardcore concrete construction, and that would almost mean that like a tent or like a Meccano building, you could sort of take it apart and maybe reuse the parts elsewhere in another part of the building. I mean, one of the things that I find massively irritating is that people tend to think that a building that looks green is a green building, and very often the commitment to sustainability doesn't go beyond the commitment to the color green trend. A sustainable building is a building that performs well on a number of measurable criteria. And what for me is also interesting is that the notion of what a sustainable building is changes all the time, is subject to a lot of progressive insight. And on the what I like about the building very much is that, you know, if you compare it to the Rotterdam, which you can see from 300 meters across the Maas, that has a very manifest presence, and in combination with the Erasmus Bridge, it features in almost any photograph of the tourist office, etc. You see it from the Koolsingel, between the old post office and the town hall. You see actually the lowest part of the building, because the 2 pyramids in a way already hide behind those buildings. If you walk on the other side in the main, you barely see the building. You see a few boxes peeping out over the roof, and the impression of the building is all the time different from actually seeing it to not seeing it at all from other angles. So that the ability to appear and disappear, I thought, was always something that's quite successful. We're at the level 5 at the moment. That's also where the existing building ends. So you start looking over the roof of that building. All 54 apartments in the whole thing, and no plan is the same. Each apartment is unique. Each apartment is different. And this is the only structural exception in the entire building. It's a bridge that is suspended from this beam. The rest is all standardized. So that
I wanted to have a restaurant with cookers, and I was thinking about to having not much of customers, but look at the tables, and then you can give a few people one table for 2 hours, and then they can eat, drink cocktails, then coffee or tea, and then they are really enjoying the evening. Before we wanted to have a restaurant, we were looking for a space would have something like architecture, because it brings also lots of people here to see the building, and after that then they will take then they will order something to eat and sit and look at our space also. We are Surinamese. This is a Surinamese kitchen, and we are Indian, but in the history we went from India to Suriname. That's a country next to Brazil, and after that we had a different cuisine, and that is what I make here. And these are authentic tastes. That's why people always will come back.